Hello and welcome to You Are the Dream. I'm Judith Manriquez, and today we have a video podcast. And what I'm going to be covering today are the themes and energies that are going to begin playing out now for the next 20 years. And it might seem like a long time period, and we're certainly going to focus on a much more current time frame, but it's important to look at the larger energies playing out because they so deeply affect us. um, I think, especially as spiritual women, as spiritual entrepreneurs, as intuitives, anybody who's in any of the mystical arts or careers. So I went to down this big rabbit hole, wanting to show it in an easy way. And what it does is it actually requires me to share it to you in a visual format. So I have a post that goes along with this, and there's a chart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of the themes and kind of explain it to you as we get there, and then give you the summary with the chart at the end. How does that sound? So let me go ahead and share. So you'll find a detailed rundown of what we're covering today, what I'm literally talking this through, on my Substack. And again, I just want to reiterate, I am sharing this because it's really important for me to convey to you how just like the stage is set for you if you do spiritual work, if you've been developing a particular business or a craft and you've been struggling to find your way, struggling to create a sustainable business, like feeling kind of like everything just hasn't come together. I really feel like now things are so set up for them to come together. So I want to infuse this belief and energy into you, basically. So here we go. I just want to give a caveat. I am not a trained astrologer. This is me allowing what I learn about astrology from the people that I follow. I'm allowing them to help me clarify the energies that I perceive in just around me, in the way when I work with people. So for me, energies have tones to them. You'll hear me say that often, like it has an energy tone. And often when I'm listening to something or when somebody's asking me questions, energies clarify and I see pathways. And so a lot of what I'm depicting here today is about those pathways. So it's kind of a roadmap vision, if you want to, kind of think of it that way. So this is especially relevant right now because people are clearing out their year, their desks, they're clearing out their files, they're setting the stage for the next year. Maybe you've done planning and had time to do it, maybe you haven't. It's not relevant right now. But the idea is we're kind of starting to think forward. If you haven't already mapped the year, you're wanting to, you're sensing it. You've been listening for the, what's coming for you, right? And on top of that, we hear a lot in the news and in the media about all of these challenging items that might be before us through the coming years, economically, personally, humanitarian wise. Like there's just a lot at play. And to be very fair, I tend to lean in the optimist side of things. I tend to see things in positivity. I always look for higher potentials. That's the way I'm wired. It's just going to happen that way. And I'm not necessarily ignoring the real, visible, tangible things playing out, but I'm seeing them from a different perspective on the stage and looking at them from a larger context. So you'll get a little bit of this as I walk through this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the most recent full moon. And as an overarching look at this, in astrology, you have planets that move more slowly, so they take longer to move around in relationship to the Earth, so around the sun, right? So they take longer. Those planets create generational patterns. They create energies that are much larger. And so sometimes we may not stop to feel them, but they're like the undercurrent playing out. And there's a lot of stuff changing on those energy realms and energy frequencies. And so I'm going to try to lay them out for you in a stacked way. So we're going to look at the longest energy to the shortest one. And we're not going to get into what astrologers call personal planets, which are the ones that move all the time, like pretty quickly. So we're just going to look at the ones that are really critical, that are showing me the pattern that I'd like to share with you. So it started with me paying attention to this full moon. And the full moon was in Gemini, happened on the 15th. Um, this moon is actually part of a larger sequence of moons. So the moon kind of plays out multiple times. But what I want you to notice is I want you to stop and take a breath and notice what theme is playing out for you right now. You can journal it if you want to. If you journal regularly, go back and take a look at what was going on in June of 2023, because that's when this particular energy started. And it's going to resolve in September of 2025, around that time. So for me, astrology isn't about the date specifically, although you'll see some of them here, but it's about knowing that these energies have a vibration. So like when you ring a bell, it's loud at the point when it gets hit, but there's still these vibrations out of it. And so for me, that's what happens when the planets make an exact like point, then that's the loud point. But those vibrations are already happening before and they ring out after. So more or less, notice what's going on thematically for you right now, and I would suggest that you kind of pay attention to communication, curiosity, questions, connections, listening. So we're still in that phase and we're going to keep playing that out probably through September. So there are a lot of things that are happening around this full moon that are touching on several planets and aspects. And we're not going to get into those details exactly. I've linked them in my article so that you can actually listen to the experts talk about them. Okay. I wanted you to know because this full moon is actually touching on a lot of the other things we're now going to get into. That's why I started with that one. So it's just a quick little like snack, right? So now let's get into the bigger picture. Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and partially Jupiter are going to be moving out of their signs into other signs. So they're moving out of yang signs, which are extroverted signs. They're moving into yang signs, which are extroverted signs. So they've been leaving these signs of passive endurance, which is yin, is the way this is described. So here's how I read this. We've really had to dig deep and do the hard stuff. And now we have what we need to step out and create and play. So let's take the big heavy hitter, Pluto, right? Pluto, if you follow any astrology, everyone's talked about how it's moving into Aquarius. It's been like we've been through Capricorn. So think back what was going on in 2008. Like 2008 to recently, that period of time has been heavy, right? I know it. I've been through it. I just like everyone I speak to and work with has been through this period where it has felt incredibly heavy. I felt like we were transmuting karma. I felt like we were carrying extra karmic energies for other people. If you're in a mastery level kind of work, we are helping release these energies so that we could bring in the energy that I think started coming in about 2017 or so. Still hard years, right? We know what happened in 2020, but really heavy, like dig deep, like know what you're worth kind of energy. So now we're moving from this very dig deep energy into extroverted energy. Extroverted as in going out, being visible, creating, starting new things, being more present and visible with the things you have in store, enriching what you might have, right? So from a business perspective, that's what's going on, right? So that's like the bigger overarching picture. We're moving into creativity and newness. We're being supported for that. Okay, so let's touch on the Pluto has moved into Aquarius. And really, my big one is I'm going to reframe some of this for you because again, I'm going to lean towards positivity because I want to recast the archetypes and the myths into something that is more expansive for us because I think that's what we're here to do. So, Pluto in Aquarius is a 20-year energy. It's going to be going on, which means it's going to be creating transformation for 20 years. So, think about a business goal. If you're going to have a business, it's going to be around 20 years. Maybe, maybe not. But in that 20 years, you're sure going to change it over time, right? So Aquarius energy is intellectual, communicative, and social. They're also said to be rebellious, innovative, and good at analyzing and synthesizing information. So that's the sign that Pluto's in. Pluto is about power and transformation. And one of the things that I hear often when listening to astrologers is that they talk about how there's the collapse of the old to make way for the new. And like there's these deep endings and making way for the new. And that really activates me. So, um, because I don't see nature necessarily working that way. I look at the larger patterns at play on the planet, and what I often see is we don't see a collapse. We actually see something that is beginning to shrivel while something else begins to grow. And it starts growing when it's small. And over here, it looks like there's a lot of chaos, but it's just shrinking because people who are here are moving over to the new energies. And ultimately, that happens. And the fear around this shrinking is what creates a lot of the stress. So ultimately, what I want to do is help you see that this is an interesting transition and it's going to be taking us forward in an interesting way, right? So here's how I read this energy. Rather than collapse, I say that Pluto is helping us see where we've been closed off or unable to see what we've been missing. And after it's been transiting through Capricorn, which it's been doing for the last 20 years, we can see what we hadn't been able to see in systems. So we see much more clearly the way something was broken, where before we did that, we didn't really, you know? So let's take an example of the way that our entire work structures have shifted after our entire business structure shut down for our pandemic, right? So before that happened, there were very, very few businesses who were willing to allow anyone to work remotely. That has entirely shifted the landscape. So, do you see how that's a shift in awareness because we saw something different that we've been missing? In Aquarius, we're going to have that same innovation to have innovative energy to create the changes we want to make. So, now that we've gone from seeing how the systems are not serving us, we're going to enter this season where we're going to see how do we construct new things that support our new dreams and desires. That's what I think Pluto is going to come here to help us do, because Pluto is going to help us create something not in the way we've done it in the past, because the past got us those things. The future, we're going to have to create in a new way. So, for spiritual entrepreneurs, what I want you to take away is that you have the skills and experience for this very specific energy. So, what you do is innovative, and it will inform the progress for the family of humanity. So, progress is Aquarian, innovation is Aquarian, and transformation, right? So, you've been doing the work and you're here to offer that to people who need to be able to move through this energy. Innovation and change are not often easy for people, but from a soul perspective, we can open and feel safe moving through new things. There's the possibilities for you within your business. So, like, people are ready and you are too. Now, let's move on to Neptune. And Neptune's going to move out of Pisces and into Aries. And Neptune in Pisces has been really happy there. Neptune is about inspiration, creativity, and spirituality. It also is about dreams, illusions, and the subconscious. Think of the watery depths. It dissolves and it blends in, but also remember, water can carve canyons. So lots of strength in that. Aries is about energy, ambition, the ability to embrace and facilitate change. So very forward, let's go do it kind of energy. Now, while Neptune has been in Pisces, it's going to move into Aries in March, stay there for a little while, goes back forth for a little tiny bit. Some people say that Neptune isn't happy in Aries because it's moving from its flowy, dreamy state into the ambitious, direct energy of Aries. So how I would like to invite you to read this energy is that Neptune has been hanging out in Pisces during the final years of Pluto and Capricorn. Okay, so during these hard final years. And Neptune has been really fortifying itself. Neptune has been saying, hey, listen, I've been doing what I need to do. I've been up leveling my consciousness. I've been clearing out the fog of old things. I've been doing a lot of the closures and I'm ready. I'm ready to move into Aries. I'm ready to move into the things that need to change. I want the energy. So, just as Pluto has moved into Aquarius, Neptune is now moving into Aries. So, we've got a connection here. I don't know, it's like the Aquarius, which is ruled by Neptune. They're still connected and they're supporting each other as they're moving forward. So, Neptune is bringing in the inspiration, the creativity, and the spirituality to seed the way we'll be shifting the collective. Okay, I really want y'all to take this in. This is kind of magical the way this is sort of stacking on each other, right? So for spiritual entrepreneurs, listen to your intuition. Operate from the spiritual rather than the material. There will be a lot of mental energy because a lot of these planets are bringing a lot of mental energy, but it's not going to be able to show you the way. Your intuition and inner wisdom will have the clarity. Apply what I've said and then look at your work and business. Can you feel the potential for growth? That's what I want you to hear because Neptune is about spirituality. That's the nature of your work and your business. That's what you've been called to do. How cool that we're putting this together for us to grow. And how long are we going to have Neptune dancing in Aries? For 12 years. 12 years. That's a nice 10-year plan, y'all. Okay, now let's take a look at Uranus. Uranus moves every 6.5 years, it changes signs, and it's about ready to move into Gemini. That'll happen for a short while in July. Okay, so July 2025. So we're mapping out some timelines here. So let's talk about Uranus. Uranus rules Aquarius. Remember all the action going on with Pluto. So the themes of Aquarius fit in here. Uranus is associated with individuality, freedom, and originality, very similar to Aquarius. Gemini is curious, passionate, and social. So we've got this individuality, freedom, originality blending with Gemini, who's happy with innovative projects, who likes creativity, who wants transformation, who's all about talking, who's all about listening, because in order to create, you got to listen to see how it's all going to land in the world. So here's how I read this energy. We're going to get a taste of exactly how fast things can change, given we're going to be given a shorter time, little time to breathe, and then it's going to come back in and kick in for 6.5 years. So for 2025, we're going to feel the way that Uranus, the planet of these unexpected shifts and changes and like shaking you up, is going to say, we're going to shake things up. Are you ready? Like, let's give it a shot. And then it's going to take a breath and then it's going to come back in. So this first half of the year is going to be really excellent for putting some of those foundations in place, not rock solid, but certainly getting your own self in place to be able to navigate this kind of innovative go kind of energy that Uranus will bring. So Uranus is, again, a pretty strong moving planet. It is about expansion because Gemini is going to bring expansion, and things can be sudden, but they're also going to be innovative. So they don't have to be jarring, but it can feel that way for some if they're not accustomed to change. So for spiritual entrepreneurs, here's what I want you to hear. You already know how to move with change because you've been listening to your soul as it takes you through the challenges you've needed to go through to be ready for this wave. Okay. So on the business front, other people who don't have the practice or the tools will be in need. Okay, just let that sink in. People who've not been doing the spiritual work at the level that you've been doing the work are going to feel overwhelmed, out of control, anxious, stressed, afraid. They're going to be looking for people to help them with that. That's what you do. I know that that's the work that you do. So be aware that if you get your business sorted, you'll be able to welcome them in a really solid way and still keep your center. I'm just saying, these are things to pay attention to, right? Big pictures. Now we're going to talk about Saturn. So Saturn's going to be moving out of Pisces and into Aries. Again, all of this is happening starting and flowing since November through the end of 2025. These are large shifts, like moving and teetering, like it's completing an old thing and moving into a new thing. The energies are big. So Saturn moves every 3 years, it'll shift signs. So Saturn represents structure, responsibility, long-term goals. It's also all about time, karma, work, restrictions, and responsibility, boundaries. I'm really comfortable with Saturn. I'm a Capricorn. I'm like, bring it on. Like Saturn just wants to make sure you're like solid, doing the right things. Okay. Aries is about energy, ambition, and the ability to embrace and facilitate change. Saturn in Aries creates an emphasis on taking responsibility for our lives and building new foundations in a proactive way. So Saturn's not going to let you take shortcuts. Saturn doesn't really allow for illusions or fake it till you make it. Saturn's about substance. It will expect boundaries for Uranus and Neptune because we're talking about these more innovative, flowy planets, right? But Saturn will expect there to be boundaries to that. So it's not going to be this like wild ride because Saturn is going to want structure on this. It's going to want responsibility. It's going to want you to put the foundation in place. So notice that you'll need to have a responsible application of your energy and resources. You're going to have to use what you've been given responsibly. It's about building your dreams on a solid foundation. That's what Saturn's going to do in Aries. I know a lot of astrologers are talking about how there's like this restriction that's going to restrict Aries, but I think what Saturn's going to really bring us is the ability to ground a lot of the air mental energy and really kind of settle it down a bit and take that want to like go out there and tackle things in the world and give it a little bit more of a measured pace in the middle of all of this very intellect, communications, inspiration, innovation type energy. So for spiritual entrepreneurs, I know you spend a lot of time in the ethereal and spiritual space. This is the energy for building the foundations for what you do. So take all the ethereal and spiritual, and then take Saturn and Aries and realize you have the energy to materialize your dreams. It's a way for you to express your ambition, give form to the Gemini energy of communication, visibility, like give form to it, put a structure around it. This is a problem for a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs. Being visible is a little scary, and applying your intuition to the growth you want to materialize. So it's going to blend these things together. Okay. So, really, another very solid foundation for spiritual entrepreneurs. Now, I close out my post with actual dates for all of these things. What I want to do is let me go ahead and show you the chart as a close. And this is for you to take as you will, because I like the visual component to it. So we're going to take a look at the chart. And I've color coded this in a way so that you can see the influences. So the blue influences are a lot of this mental energy, innovation, creativity kind of stuff playing out. Also, Gemini with the yellow energy is also that like energy happening. So I want you to just see this stuff moving. So you can see the Pluto in Aquarius moving, right? We're dealing with a lot of years here, all the way till 2043. And that's about power transformation and collective awakening. I think you guys can handle that as a spiritual entrepreneur. Neptune in Aries is about spiritual growth plus growth for your business and work. That's how I interpret that energy. So we got that going on till 2039, very highly supported. Then you look at Uranus and Gemini. So that's about innovation and individuality coupled with communications. That's what's going to happen with that energy. And you can see sort of the time frame playing out. Let's use it. And then Saturn in Aries is energy to put structure to your dreams and self-expression. You see, it's just like a simple So nice. And you can see the play, right? So you can see it playing out from 2025 towards the end, all the way through to the end of 2027, early 2028. That's a pretty nice, solid 3-year plan to put into place for your business. Okay. And then lastly, I show you on this chart a little bit of Jupiter and Gemini, which is about the expansiveness, right? So Jupiter brings expansion, and we already know what Gemini is doing with Uranus. So we're going to have a little bit more expansion happening within the Gemini elements of communication, innovation, and creativity and curiosity, right? That's pretty nice. Again, I love that kind of energy for business. It's what we need when we're creating a business. It is the ability to be creative. It is the ability to be curious, because curiosity means you're listening to what is it that's coming from inside of me, but what's coming in from people who need what I have to offer. And then it's this beautiful expansion of sharing what you have in the world. So it's communicating and being visible. So Gemini supports that. So when I see all of this, I'm like, hello, people, let's do it. I want to see spiritual entrepreneurs really claim their power and their worth at this time. And I don't think you're going to have a choice. But if you're in on it up front and really paying attention to this, I think you're going to be able to ride the energy so gracefully and so beautifully. If this is interesting to you, definitely leave a comment, reach out to me on Instagram, let me know, so that I can share with you some of the thoughts I have and what I'm developing to begin at the end of January. So I hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions or you want me to explain anything else of what I've talked about, if it's sparked something for you that you want to see what I think about, please leave me a comment, drop me an email. I would love to hear what you think of all of this. Do you feel this as well? It's going to be fascinating. I'm really looking forward to the next couple of years. Well, all of the years, actually. I look forward to all the years. But oh my gosh, I just like the actual like possibilities present right now are so huge. It's just amazing. So blessings. I will be off for the holiday break. I hope you have a beautiful time for your holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, whether you're solo or with family. Have a beautiful time. Many blessings. Enjoy the solstice. Didn't cover any of that. You can check the resources on my post for the different astrologers that I follow that will have information on that as well. So have a beautiful time. Until next time, take care, y'all. We'll see ya.